We often talk about the huge scale of global trade, you know, the giant ships, the massive ports. It's easy to miss the smaller things.
Right.
But have you ever thought about what actually keeps all that cargo safe inside those containers? Turns out it's a pretty big deal, bigger than you might think.
Absolutely. It's fascinating, really. This whole world of cargo protection, it seems niche, but it's actually a serious part of the global economy.
Okay.
And today, yeah, we're going to dive deep into one specific piece, Dunnage Air Bags.
Dunnage Air Bags. Okay, let's unpack that term. For anyone listening who isn't, like, deep in logistics, what are we talking about?
Well, simply put, they're inflatable bags. Cushions, really.
Right.
You use them to brace cargo during shipping, fill the gaps between pallets or boxes.
Ah, okay, so they stop stuff from shifting around and getting damaged. Made from what, paper? Plastic?
Usually craft paper, yeah, or sometimes polyethylene or even woven polypropylene. Depends on the need. Their main job is just filling those voids. It's simple, but honestly, crucial.
Crucial indeed. So we've got a report on this market. What's our mission today?
Exactly. We've got some great data here. The plan is to pull out the key stuff for you. How big this market is right now, where it's heading,
Okay.
what's driving that growth, any regional differences, give you a solid overview without drowning you in numbers.
Sounds good. So hit me with the big numbers then. What's the scale we're looking at?
All right. So for 2025, the estimate is USD 598.26 million globally.
Wow, okay. Over $500 million. And looking forward,
By 2033, it's projected to hit around USD 457.3 million.
so steady growth then.
Yeah, that works out to a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 4.60% over that period.
4.6%. Not explosive maybe, but solid for something so fundamental.
Exactly. It reflects that constant growth in global trade and, well, the ongoing need to protect goods. It's
Yeah.
a quiet indicator.
Almost $1 billion by 2033 for
Yeah.
inflatable bags. It's pretty impressive. So what's pushing this growth? What are the main drivers?
There are a few key things working together here. First off, regulations.
Regulations.
Yeah. Stricter rules around the world about cargo safety. Governments, international bodies, they're all emphasizing secure transport more and more. Minimizing damage, preventing accidents.
Right, you don't want containers spilling their contents on the highway or at sea.
Precisely. So that naturally bumps up demand for good securing methods like these dunnage bags.
Makes sense. What else?
Then there's just the sheer growth of the logistics and warehousing sector itself.
Okay.
Supply chains are getting more complex, more goods are moving all the time. So you just need more ways to protect that cargo, both in the warehouse and on the move.
More stuff moving equals more need for protection. Simple logic. Are the bags themselves getting better too? Is technology playing a part?
Definitely. Material technology is a big one.
Hmm.
We're seeing better, more advanced materials being used.
Like what?
Multi-layered materials, for instance. These improve load stability, they're tougher, more puncture resistant, and they hold air better for longer.
Ah, better air retention. That sounds key. Reliability.
Right, exactly. You need them to stay inflated for the whole trip.
Mm-hmm.
And related to how things move, there's the rise of intermodal transport.
You mean switching between trucks, trains, ships?
Yeah. Every time cargo gets transferred, there's a risk. Dunnage bags help cushion things during those potentially bumpy transitions.
Right. Those transfer points always seem like a weak link, so the bags provide consistent protection.
That's the idea. Also, specific industries are driving demand. Think food and beverage, pharmaceuticals.
Ah, sensitive goods.
Right. Perishables, delicate items, temperature sensitive. They need really secure shipping to maintain quality, prevent spoilage, ensure integrity.
Can't have vial smashing or fruit getting bruised.
Exactly. And finally, just the overall boom in cross-border trade, driven a lot by e-commerce, international shipping.
Mm-hmm.
It all fuels demand for secure packaging.
Yeah, e-commerce has changed everything. So many more individual packages crisscrossing the globe.
It really has. So next time you get a package, there's a decent chance a dunnage bag or something similar
Yeah.
help to get you safely. It's this sort of hidden infrastructure.
Okay, so lots of factors pushing growth. What about the flip side? Are there things holding the market back? Any headwinds?
There are. Interestingly, the same regulations that drive demand can also be a restraint.
How so?
Well, being stringent, they can create compliance challenges.
Mm.
Figuring out the specific rules for different loads, different regions.
Mm-hmm.
It can get complicated for businesses.
I can see that. A patchwork of rules.
Mm-hmm. Another issue is awareness, particularly in some emerging markets.
They just don't know about these solutions.
Maybe not their full benefits or they're harder to access. So adoption can be slower in some places.
Mm.
It's partly education, partly availability.
Okay. And what about environmental concerns? I imagine plastic bags raise eyebrows.
That's a big one, definitely.
Yeah.
Growing awareness about plastic waste puts pressure on traditional plastic dunnage bags.
Yeah.
It affects how people see them and pushes demand towards, well, greener options. Paper-based bags, reusable ones, maybe even compostable materials.
Right. You solve the cargo damage problem, but create another one. So how's the industry responding? What are the big trends we're seeing now?
Well, directly addressing that environmental point is a major trend. Manufacturers are really focusing on eco-friendly and recyclable options.
So more paper, more reusable designs.
Exactly. Investing in R&D for sustainable materials, designing for reuse, or easier recycling, even composting.
Good to hear. What else is trending?
The continued rise of online shopping, as we mentioned. E-commerce just keeps growing, which means a constant need for reliable packaging for all those individual shipments. Dunnage bags are finding a role there, too.
Right. It's not just massive B2B shipments anymore. Protecting our online orders matters, too.
Definitely. And then, linked to performance, that trend towards advanced multi-layered materials is really picking up steam.
The ones you mentioned earlier. High-strength stuff.
Yeah, high-strength polyethylene, polypropylene, reinforced Kraft paper. They offer better stability, they're tougher, hold air longer. So even if they cost a bit more upfront, the performance benefits are often worth it.
So better performance and more sustainable options seem to be the key directions. Let's talk geography. Where is this market biggest?
Okay, geographically, North America is the current leader, holds over 40% of the global revenue.
40%.
Yeah. In 2025, that's estimated at about USD 221 million. And it's growing steadily, around 3.4% CAGR projected through 2033.
And within North America, is it mostly the U.S.?
The U.S. is the dominant player, yes.
Yeah.
Around USD 175 million in 2025, growing at about 3.2%. But Canada and Mexico are significant too, with slightly faster growth rates, actually. Canada is at 4.2% EGGR, Mexico 3.9%.
Interesting. So North America leads. What about across the Atlantic and Europe?
Europe's a strong second, holds over 30% of the market. That's about USD 173.5 million in 2025, growing at a similar rate to North America, 3.4% CAGR.
And the key countries there?
The UK is important, around USD 29 million, growing at 4.2%. Germany's bigger, about USD 34 million, growing at 3.6%. And France is significant too, though growing a bit slower at 2.6%.
Okay, so North America and Europe are the established giants. But where's the fastest growth happening?
That would be Asia Pacific,
No.
APAC. They've got about 23% market share now, so around USD 143.5 million in 2025. But, and this is the key part, they're projected to grow at 7.3% CAGR.
7.3%. That's quite a jump compared to the others.
It really is. China's a huge part of that, of course. Over
Yeah.
USD 60 million market, growing at 6.8%. But India's growth rate is projected at 9.2%.
9.2. That's the highest we've seen.
By far. It really highlights the economic dynamism and the sheer volume of goods moving in and out of that region now, the infrastructure catching up.
Absolutely. What about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa, are they significant?
They're smaller shares, but still growing. South America's over 5%, about USD 23 million, growing at 4.9%. Brazil and Argentina lead there. The Middle East is around 2%, maybe USD 24 million, but growing faster at 5.1% CAGR. Saudi Arabia and UAE are key there, and Africa holds about 1%, roughly USD 13 million, growing at 4.3%. South Africa and Nigeria are the main markets mentioned.
Got it. So smaller shares, but still respectable growth. You mentioned something about an overseas category growing fast.
Yes. That's looking at how the bags are used, the end-use segments, the overseas category, which means primarily intermodal shipping, sea rail transfers. That segment is showing the fastest growth overall.
Which really underlines that point about complex global supply chains, right?
Exactly. Lots of goods crossing oceans and continents.
So while North America and Europe lead in size, APAC, especially India, is where the big future expansion seems likely. Now, you touched on materials before. Can we break down the market segments a bit more, like types of bags?
Sure. So by material, you've mainly got polywoven bags.
Polywoven?
Yeah, woven polypropylene. They're really durable, resist moisture, and puncture as well. Great for those long international sea journeys.
Okay, it makes sense for ocean freight.
Then you have Kraft paper bags.
Yeah.
Often a bit more cost-effective, good strength. You see them a lot in rail and truck transport, maybe more regional stuff.
Right.
And there are vinyl bags, too, though polywoven currently dominates the market overall. which fits with all that overseas shipping growth we talked about.
Okay. And what about the construction? You mentioned layers.
Yeah, the report highlights ply types, like 2-ply bags, lighter, more economical, good for less demanding loads.
Hmm.
And then 4-ply bags, heavier duty, more robust for securing heavier cargo or things needing extra protection. There can be even more layers, like 6 or 8-ply for really heavy stuff, but 2 and 4-ply are common distinctions.
So you match the bag strength to the cargo and the journey, basically.
Yeah.
And the end use outlook, that was truck overseas.
Right, just segments the market by the primary mode of transport where the bags are used. Trucking for road freight, overseas, covering that intermodal C-rail combination, and railway specifically for loads just moving by train.
Gotcha. Different segments based on how things are moving. Finally, who are the companies actually making these bags? Is it a concentrated market?
It's described as highly competitive. Lots of players focusing on innovation, better materials, smarter designs.
Any names stand out?
The report mentions quite a few, like Shortstrap BV, Shippers Products, Bates, Cargo Pack, APS, several others. It's definitely an active space.
So lots going on behind the scenes for these, well, seemingly simple bags.
Exactly. So just to wrap things up, it's a significant global market,
Mm.
nearly $600 million now, heading towards $860 million with steady growth.
Right.
Driven by more trade, tighter safety rules, and better bag technology. North America leads now, but APAC, especially India, is growing fastest.
Mm.
And we're seeing clear trends towards greener, more sustainable options alongside those higher performance materials.
It really is amazing how crucial these inflatable cushions are in the whole global logistics puzzle.
It is. And maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. How will that push for sustainability really reshape this market going forward? You know, the innovations in materials and reuse.
Yeah.
And maybe think about what other small parts of global commerce are actually playing these huge, indispensable roles that we just don't notice every day. Gives you something to chew on.